These individuals were determined to be in the country without valid documentation authorizing their stay, and in accordance with the provision of the Immigration Act, have been formally declared undesirable persons.
When you hear the term Abahambe, I was the one that popularized that term.
This is not normal migration, this is invasion. We have every right as South Africans to not want this, and do not let them convince you otherwise.
Tracy, what's your take? Anagwa take? What do you think? And what's going? Like, it's legit one person trying to outsmart the other.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Let's take a look at this update. There is a trend going on. Of course, the rest of Africa is up against South Africa. But the biggest take from, I'd say, the past days were the different repatriations that have been going on. One of the biggest one being from Malawi, where over 5,000 immigrants were situated in a sports ground, and when the buses arrived, they were seen chanting and being jubilant about going home. What does this then mean? That maybe they didn't have money to go home, or they are happy that their government is finally stepping up. We'll take a look at that as well, but also giving context as to what is the next step. June 30 cancelled, or is it going on? Those are some of the pressing questions. It is, however, putting on the right type of pressure on our government to actually do their job, and we are seeing departments such as cracking down on those companies that hire illegal immigrants and also those who contravene the Immigration Act as displayed here on screen. But the biggest talking point recently are whether intellectual debates versus lived experiences can actually both be true. We are seeing Abo Amasha Jacks, Abo Professor coming in, and other people who are bringing in the intellectual argument and saying no to xenophobia, Afrophobia, whereas the others are saying, yeah, we hear you. However, what is the solution besides the big words? Kuningi. Let's take a look at this, and please give this video a thumbs up as we do that. Take a look.
South Africa. Going back home, Malawi. Yeah, now I'm going home. I'm going back home, Malawi.
I must admit, as the educated class of the country, I need to admit that the uneducated have done something that myself and our fellow educated have failed to do. They got the government moving and shaking. Look, you can hate the methodology, you can hate the process, but when last did you see the South African government on their tippy toes? When last did you see e-government out? AMA officials are out, MMCs are out, people that you didn't even know they're in leadership. Suddenly we have a functional government. Truly, right? Because Tina, the educated class, we really do believe in systems, right? We believe that if you vote is going to make a difference. Oh no, just apply policy and that. Okay, that stuff, it still counts. But no. I must give the uneducated their flowers, because I'm sure the last time South African government worked with this hard was in 2010 or something. Haibo.
Before we bring up the president, there's an issue that needs to be addressed. And I want to say to the ambassadors, I am so happy that you've come. South Africa is dealing with a very serious allegation that we are a xenophobic country. So I want you to go back today after what I'm going to say. When you hear the term Abahambe, I was the one that popularized that term. I was standing with my people fighting against illegal immigration. We went into parliament. President Ramaphosa appointed me in his cabinet, and I got to understand how government works. The president listens to many views amongst the cabinet ministers. We debate and we'll come to a conclusion. Now, this president did not start the problem of illegal immigration. He found illegal immigration. It has been with us. But for me, as one of the people that is the loudest about it, this president is the first one that has listened to our cry that we don't want people that are undocumented. We have nothing against foreigners, but they must be documented.
Our government officials have never had to work this hard. Yay! They have never had to work this hard. They're literally up on their feet, on their toes. South Africans are literally keeping them busy. Especially the Minister of Police, Home Affairs. They feel employed for the first time. They're not getting paid for free this time around. Even though they're not doing much. But they really have to kind of like step up. But like every day they wake up and feel that I'm going to work today.
As I've been listening to different influencers, English deep, deliberating on the trending current affairs, the issue of illegal foreigners in our country. And I must say I'm very much agitated because abantu bangaba no 5 rand ukuyohlala FOAs, suddenly they become blind to the realities of a black man or whatever that happens in the townships or the general struggles of our country. So, Maniti, when these people leave, who's going to be running these shops? Illegal foreigners.
My people, we need to have an honest conversation with ourselves, especially at times as such. I've noticed that each time when one raises a different perspective about the issue of immigration, they're automatically dismissed as being privileged, intellectuals, out of touch, or someone who does not understand the issues that are faced by ordinary people. But guess what? Disagreement alone does not equate to evidence. Calling out someone privileged does not mean that their argument is wrong. Whether it is Professor Anele, or whether it is Jax Amahle, or whether it is myself or anybody else for that matter. The question should never be who is speaking. The question should always be, what does the evidence say?
I need to remind you guys to not be distracted by these people that are intellectually smarter than us, right? The genesis and the reason why March and CAC, our constitutional reform, started is because we want to protect South African citizens. Our safety is at risk. Our way of life is at risk. There's so many things that come with illegal migration more than just jobs. Let me tell you, the main thing was never even jobs. Jobs is part of it. It's not even a big thing. So don't let these people put the focus on March and what we are trying to do and what South Africans are trying to do to be just about jobs. Number 2, our way of life. This is not normal migration. This is invasion.
How's it? I'd like to read you a post that I wrote in light of some of the comments and responses I received on my Afrophobia, Xenophobia video. The article is titled, Things That Keep Me Up at Night. Are we a generation that thinks more than it does? Oh, and before I start, some of you have threatened my life. Anyway, I recently did a TikTok video titled, Afrophobia is not going to fix our economy. This was in response to countless DMs and comments about what my thoughts were on the March on March movement that is due to take place on the 30th of June 2026. In the video, I speak about the recent rise of Afrophobia, and I make it a point to tell my audience that I'm using that word intentionally. Because if it was xenophobia, then you would have the same smoke for melanin-deficient legal and illegal immigrants who have taken over Cape Town. This was just the intro. The actual point of my video was to stress that we have a governance issue more than we have an illegal immigration issue, and that for so long as we don't treat the disease, we will spend our lives punishing the symptom. Needless to say, it has not gone down well. Off with my head, they have typed. There's a call to unfollow me, there are threats in my DM, and my comments are filled with insults about my accent and my vocabulary.
Bantu basekhaya ndingathanda ndihlomle apha kule point kasisi and uyakhumsha kwabantwana basekhaya anasilungu kakhulu ke mnaka. Ndifuna ukuthi if our African brothers really loved us as fellow Africans the way abafuna thina sibathande ngakhona, they wouldn't allow cheap labor. They wouldn't allow ukuba tool between us nabantu abamhlophe. If our African brothers bebesithanda bebengazufika apha bavule izirhoxo ezithengisa ukutya okubolileyo kwaye bathengise iziyobisi. Uba abantu bakuthi bebesithanda olu hlobo bathi masibathande ngalo, sibathanda ngalo, bebengasoze babribe ukube babe lapha kweli lizwe.
Would the government be doing this if it wasn't for the marches? We'll never know. You'll never know. Anyways, the latest announcement is that 2,000 study visas, 2,000 fraudulent study visas, amongst many other visas, will be cancelled. Now, by now, we already know who the culprits are, right? Those that have study visas, but somehow are sitting in a spaza shop 24/7. What are they studying? Sunlight? Now, in the comments, you can definitely do the guesses. I'm not going to say the name of the university, but I have a university in mind though. Anyways, we end off with the same question we began with. Would the government be doing any of this if it wasn't for the marches?
Well, there you have it. Those are some of the thoughts and sentiments coming through there. Please do follow them on various social media platforms. As you have heard, there is a lot to talk about when it comes to the crisis of immigration, particularly illegal one. Well, in South Africa, they are currently feeling it the most. And at this moment, the different communities seem to have decided to just group in one place for what they call safety reason. Please also do look out on various news outlets to get the official updates and responses from the different committees and departments that are dealing with this situation on the ground. As we speak, the Malawi government have distributed a lot of buses to come and collect some of their members that are in Durban. However, it is about 10,000 people, as those are the reports, and they have now reached out to the people to please donate in order to assist them repatriate some of their people. The South African government has offered to assist because the process is taking longer. However, they are going to then ask them to move into facilities such as the deportation centers that will then be able to give them a roof over their head and a meal that is a lindela. Now, this has opened the opportunity for South Africa to then negotiate with various nations. But as you have also heard that argument by Gates and McKenzie that he started Abahambe, but he further went on the 16th of June to urge people not to resort to violent means, and he even urged the youth specifically not to allow themselves to be used by any mobs for any sort of group justice, especially on the 30th of June, sticking to that message. And then the big one about intellectualizing the whole crisis, and of course emotional blackmail coming in there with those big words, and also with now people calling for what is the solution with all that education. What is the solution? Because the solution cannot be to leave things as they are, because the government is obviously not coping, just like how Malawi was not able to cope with repatriating 10,000 people that they did not plan for. It's the same way that the South African government, or should I say taxes, because nothing is free, guys. Everything is paid for. Everything is paid for. And to what are your thoughts on all of this? However, as people have noted, there is progress, and unfortunately this level that we're in, it needs to be in this gear for at least the rest of the year for any change to happen. So if there was a sleeping government department, those times are over. Small business I organize so that shops may not be left idle. Community stockfields must come up, and people must open businesses. Akusheshe on the ground. What are your thoughts on all of this? Thank you so much for joining us on this video. Let's meet on the next one. Bye.